Well, folks, you're going to watch me try to think of something that I'm going to do, trying to plan something I'm going to do. So I've got my liquid here, my fragile liquid. This is actually a container that held a huge amount of glue, and this thing had a brush on it, and you would use this to slather on the rubber cement kind of glue to put up big signs, I think, or paste things into scrapbooks. It's really a cool bottle. So I put the fragile liquid thing there. But my tools today are going to be this pen, which is a Pencraft pen with a gold nib, a dried out Tombow marker, gray, and it's dried out, so I'm just using the dirty water here to make a line. And I'm planning on painting later today, if it continues to be nice and if I'm not interrupted by real jobs. I'm going to go outside in the open air, in the fresh air, and I'm going to actually paint large, maybe even larger than life-size images of a stand of birch tree. You know, I don't know if you can call one birch tree a stand, but a birch tree that I've drawn many, many times, and of course I now cannot remember what the heck it looks like. But anyway, it's a birch tree. It's white-ish with black stripes and scars and things on it. And in my building, I have an entry hall, and I thought what I would do is draw a number of versions of that same set of trees, maybe slightly more close up, slightly further back. I don't really want to draw the branches. It's really just the trunks I'm interested in. And I'll, walk over this way looking at them from one angle and one from another angle. And the height of the hallway is maybe something like, I can almost, if I stood on a short stool, I could probably touch the ceiling, so whatever that makes it be. Let's say 8 feet. And I've got 8 foot, I will make 8 foot long pieces of vinyl, white vinyl that I will paint on, and then I will cut them out, so these will be separate things that I will then tack, 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 to make my tacky art, tack to the wall. So essentially you'll walk down the hall and you'll be surrounded by these trees. And I'm using watercolor paper and this brush that has black ink in it, and this Tombow marker, which has water, and I'm trying to sort of get an idea what this thing might look like. I suppose I could have used a real brush here. That might have worked better than this Tombow marker, but that's okay. I'd have to find where my brushes are. So I would stand, my head would be maybe here. And I would paint in the same way that I draw. I essentially draw with a paintbrush. And you see lots of cross-hatchy lines, scribbly lines. It's sort of very aggressive the way I paint. I think I'm angry when I paint because I don't know how to do it well enough, so I really get angry. But I use on these paintings that I draw on vinyl window shade, or in this case vinyl, I think it's vinyl, sort of wallpaper strips. I have a big roll of this wallpaper. I draw with a brush, and I also have these things called, this is not a brush, that's how they're marketed, and they're sort of like big squeegees with different kind of points, and I can cover an area with a grayish wash, and then I can go in with this squeegee and sort of pull out white areas of white, showing the white of the paper or white of the canvas, and you get these little sparkly bits. What's nice about, well, what's interesting or unique about birch trees are, the way that the birch peels back, and you have this bright white layer of skin underneath, and then this bright white layer here before it gets all dirty and nasty and gray and crusty. It's this beautiful white. And I know there's other colors that exist, but I don't care about those. It's black and white. That's the color I'm dealing with. So anyway, this pen is one of the ones that I had set aside for artists. And I'm an artist, and so are you. So this might be a pen that will end up in your hands, because I will be trying to sell this in the coming days. It has a 14 karat nib. Come on, where are you? I don't know if that says warranted or what, but it warranted. Yep, warranted, 14 karat. And it's a nice big ball of iridium on the tip. So it's just really, it's great for outdoor sketching, for sketching a figure. You can sort of push things back and forth. You can be really pretty aggressive with it. It's pretty, oops, you're not watching it. You can be pretty aggressive with it. It's very springy, and you can get some fine lines if you want, but its strength is sort of this medium pressured stroke. When you try to be fine, because the blob of iridium is so big, an unpressured stroke isn't as crisp maybe as you might like it to be. It's you have to hold it a little bit more precisely, I guess, because imagine this is the tip of the pen, big blob of iridium, and here's the slit. Well, the slit has to hit the page in order for the ink to get there. But if you're holding the pen at a weird angle to the slit, you can hold it this way, perpendicular or parallel to the slit, and it'll be fine. But if you push it to the side, then you're not gonna get the contact with the paper. So you just have to know to hold this in a certain way. It's one of those, yet another example of the pen demanding of you certain behavior. It's not telling you what to draw necessarily, it's just telling you how to hold the pen. But it's a really yummy, it's a very wet pen. This would be the reason I chose this for this drawing, is I wanted to have the ink bleed out into the water. This is essentially just a little bit of dirty water that I wanted the ink to sort of spread out from the edges that from the lines I just made. You can see how dry this marker is. But this kind of marker, when it does no longer have ink in it, you can still use it as a liquid delivery system, and it works somewhat like a brush. Now, I also have brushes in my house, but there's somewhere that requires I move my fat ass to find them, and I am too lazy for that. So anyway, wish me luck on my tree thing. I like the drawing I did yesterday. Better than what I just did. So maybe I need to think smaller rather than bigger. I don't want this to look like some sort of wall covering you can get at Sears. I don't know, where do they sell? Or, they probably have shower curtains that look like this, made of photographs of birch trees. But I don't want my art project to look like a shower curtain. But anyway, I want it to look like my drawings. I've drawn this tree many times, and I really love one little part of the tree is this, where there used to be a branch here, so that's this big sort of scar, and then another one is here. It's just this really nice bulging part of the trunk of the tree, and it's like the great spot on Jupiter. It attracts me to it, and so even if I were just to say, if I were to draw 20 life-size pictures of this tree where this spot sort of was always in the middle, I don't know. Art's a funny thing, ideas can be good. Here's the range. Here's a bad idea, and here's a good idea. And any idea, I guess. I know I want to blah blah blah. Well, blah 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 can turn out to be really bad if you're lazy, or if the idea isn't realized well enough. Or it can be a good idea. You think things out, and take time and experiment, and of course some people have good ideas right off the bat. They don't even have to think about it. Anyway, there's a million different ways for me to draw these trees, and even thousands of different ways for me to draw these trees in black and white on these pieces of vinyl. And my intention is to draw these strips, and I don't even know if that's going to work all that well, because it might curl up, but I can use more tacks to keep them straight. But I don't know, maybe it may just not even work. But I'll never know that unless I actually go and try it out. And the other snafu in this plan is I'm not sure where this is going to go. There's a corner. Here's a person standing, looking that way in a corner, contemplating, scratching their head. Now it looks like it's a bug. It's a huge bug with its 6 legs, scratching its head with 2 of them. Here's an elevator door. Here's a column. So there's a corner that's about 4 feet by 4 feet. And I thought maybe I would use the corner and just have it be there. The stand of trees. Or there's a hallway. And I could do it on one side of the hallway only, or on 2 sides of the hallway, or whatever. So when they're done, I still don't know where they're going to go. And I may have to try them both ideas out. I'm all ready for a nap. Just thinking about all the work I got to do here. Pencraft pen. This is probably from the early 50s or mid 50s when I think Pencraft generally, they were sold to, I think they were marketed more toward artists or students. I don't really know much about the Pencraft company. Sounds like they should be marketed to students. But a nice, yummy, wet nib. Not to be confused with wet noodle nib. Just a wet nib. Good for drawing. It's a little loud for writing. It would make me just want to talk loudly, not angrily. It makes me want to gossip, sloppily gossip. My facts might not be right. I might be saying that someone, insert a name, that Barbara had sex last night with Tim. But I wouldn't be too sure about whether it was Barbara or it was Carol, and whether was it Tim or was it John. I don't know, but someone had sex, and that's sort of what this pen would do. This would write sloppy, unsubstantiated fake news. This would write fake news, but it would draw. It wouldn't draw details, it would draw feelings. It wouldn't draw accurately. You couldn't build, if I did a drawing of a house with this pen, a carpenter wouldn't know how to build it. But you'd have a sense, this house would be a really fun place to live in. Because it has so much feeling in it. It draws with feeling. It gossips with volume. And it's fun. It just makes you want to draw. It makes you want to just use the entire page, filling it up with something. Noise. That's what gossips are oftentimes. They just want to keep talking. They don't care who listens. That's not exactly true. I guess gossipers like the sound of their voice and like people to know that they have the answers. And just between us, they'll always say, knowing full well that you're going to tell everyone about Bob and Carol, Barbara and Tim, whoever they were, except, of course, the person who originally told you the gossip didn't really quite know the facts. So you might be telling the actual people that did have sex about other people that had sex. And they were actually talking, who knows? I don't know. I'm not a gossip. I don't know. How does gossip work? Isn't it about sex? I think so. Who's sleeping with who? So what do you think? Yes? A gossip. Don't tell anyone. Barb and Tim had sex last night. Shh, Mom's word.